Good evening. My name is Lance Bell. It's a little bit different for me tonight. I'm not in my normal, show clothes or anything like that. I just want to sit down and have dinner tonight and just talk to you guys, And we're talking about politics this week. It should last about a half an hour. Let me get everything set up first, just to make sure everything's alright. Let me see here. And I hate that because it's one of those ones to where, let's see here. There we go. I thought I was actually private, or actually public, and I was private. So it's one of those ones to where I had to share it to my timeline for some strange reason. It's already on there. So as I get set up here, I'm gonna let you know what I'm doing right now. I had to share at least one place, so people know I'm out and about and know what's going on. Like I said, it's dinner and politics. Now, I know that don't go well very often. Actually, don't go well at all. Let me rephrase that. We all know that. Now, as I check and make sure I still got sound, it's just one of those situations to where I just want to get on and talk about what the hell's been going on the last, year or so. But I want to start off by what I'm talking about, what I'm having for dinner. Now, for the record, I got some hot sauce. I gotta have the hot sauce. And I know you can't see it on the screen. But what I'm doing is, actually, no, I'm gonna try to scoop this down a little bit just so you can try to see it. And you can't see it, and I apologize for that. And I can't get it to go back up all of a sudden. Silly Lance. I'm gonna try it this way. This is shake and bake Parmesan chicken with green beans, and we have a red sauce. That is dinner tonight. Now, as I take a little bite here, like I said in the beginning, I'm going to talk about what went on here in this entire election cycle. Now, look, I know for a fact that it's been piss poor. You know that, I know that, everybody knows that. That goes without saying, and my monitor's jiggling like a SOB, I'm watching what's been going on, and I'm going to say this, and I've been saying this consistently. If you actually go on my website, my YouTube page, and start watching my videos, I talked about it ad nauseum. I said, look, this thing has been a no doubt about it sham. Let me add one person here. It's just one of those ones to where it's been a big no doubt about it mess, I said from the very, very beginning that handing Clinton the nomination was bad news. Now, I did not think, and I know I'm getting ahead of myself in this video, that Trump would win. Honestly, I didn't think he'd be on the radar. But, I knew that was going to be problems down the road, Excuse me, folks. But how do we get to this? Not only that Clinton was handed a nomination by the media all those years ago, it's just one of those bad situations to where nobody had the chance. Now, somebody in the media, granted it's new media, you've heard me say it all the time. If I'm in media and as a journalist and people treat me as a journalist, I have a professional and moral obligation to tell you, the listener, the reader, or the viewer, the truth. Be unbiased and let you make the decision as an adult what it is. That's exactly what it is. And it's one of those ones to where it just didn't happen this cycle. And sorry, fanboys, you know it didn't happen. This cycle so disgusted me, it's not even funny. Now, I really started seeing it about 2 years ago. It was all the damn shaming that was going on by Team Blue. Now, before anybody says I'm giving Team Red a pass, I'm not. But let's be real. Team Blue did a really, really, really good job, of slamming a narrative down people's throats. And I'm not talking about any individual person like Trump, for instance. I'm talking about Team Red at large. You know, you played on people's, and I hate to say this, and I know I'm going to get a lot of heat for this, you played on a lot of people's ignorance. That's the best way to describe it. You knew damn well that, at least on Facebook, people were not going to research what you fucking said. You knew that. That's why you put subjective titles out there, and it's like, no one not going to read the article, all they're going to read is the caption that they see, and take it as fucking fact. You know that. And it's one of those ones where, and I'm sorry folks, I'm extremely freaking hungry. It's one of those situations to where you knew that, you took full advantage of that, because all you saw was fucking mouse clicks and nothing else. You know, I got to an argument, this was back in, I think, about April. It was something really trivial, right? And it's one of those ones to where I specifically asked where a source we're getting this from. It was bipartisan report. Let that sink in. Bipartisan, they are not. You know, you went to something that showed your view and your view only. And you know what that is? That's called confirmation bias. And I may be moderate conservative, but I even gone after the conservative sites as far as that. It's total fucking bullshit. Complete and total bullshit, you know? You know, you shouldn't be doing that. You should be researching. You should be doing your due diligence when you see something real questionable on there. That's why I think, first of all, myself and the rest of the media has failed. You know, as I check my sound here, it should have never gotten to this. It really shouldn't happen, you know. And I know I see a lot of people is not chiming in what I'm talking about right now, and that's totally okay, you know. It's like, I just want to get on here and just talk tonight. As somebody in the media, I failed you. I completely and totally failed you. And I apologize. I'm checking to see if the live feed is actually up. You know, as I scroll down here on live, it's not popping up, which is kind of pissing me off. You know, maybe I just can't see it in the Facebook live section. You know, it's just one of those. It just pisses me fucking off. It really flippin' does, you know, as far as what the media did in this election. You probably have about 75-80% of the blame in this. You know, I'm putting a lot of onus on the viewers also. You know, to Facebook and whatnot, especially Facebook. You know, I'm not even talking about Twitter. You know, not Instagram. I can't name of it all of a sudden. I'm sorry. That just pisses me off, you know. But moving on, before I get on a entirely 2-hour tangent, and my food get cold, another thing. And it kind of goes to the media, but it's one of those ones to where what happened during the primaries. You know, it's not the fact that Hillary was handed the nomination 4 years ago. You know, at this point, we all know that. But there's two issues with that I have. Number one, you didn't give anybody else a real chance. You know, Bernie Sanders, say what you want about him, he had one thing that no other candidate had. And it just don't get talked about at all, but I'm going to talk about it right here. He was real. Even if you didn't agree with him at all, he was 100% 100% real. And let me tell you something. With the youth of America, and I'm talking about people younger than me, and for the record, I'm 36. I'm talking about 30 and younger. You can get a lot of miles out of that. A lot of miles. And a lot of people get behind you as far as that. Bernie Sanders people totally realized that. 4 years ago, Ron Paul realized that. And that's one of those ones to where it just makes me mad how that primary on Team Blue side went down. And let's get on to Team Red. As I said earlier, I'm a moderate conservative. And I'm about as moderate as it gets. And it completely and totally pissed me off to where the best way to describe it is you gave Trump unlimited press. And Donald Trump even said it himself on Meet the Press, because I was watching it that day, right? He said, and he said, you know what? He's getting all this free press. Why even advertise? And you know what? He was absolutely right in that. He totally was. Why spend your own money when you don't have to? And they gave him all this free press. And they were right earlier in the primary season. He sucked all the air out of the room. He really did. Then you got the people out there that when he got to the nomination, I was honestly hoping that John Kasich would do something. He would show up out of the blue. But here's the thing with that. That comes back to Team Blue a little bit. Team Blue honestly wanted Trump because they honestly thought that he would be a blowout. They'd blow him out. And I did too. I'll be the first person to admit that. I honestly thought he'd get blown up by 200 electoral votes. And I'll get to that later on. But I honestly thought that Kasich was the only adult in the room at the time, and Team Blue saw him as a threat. And I saw the videos they post about what he said, but this comes back to the ignorance of the voter. You didn't watch the video, the entire video. All you saw was the sound bites and took it as truth. It's an old Rush Limbaugh trick. And what I mean is, what he used to do back in the day, he would take, let's say he took an entire press conference, for instance, right? He would take the back half of that press conference, move it to the front of that press conference, make him sound like he said that. Exact same fucking thing. The exact same fucking thing. Just in video form. And before anybody says, and I live here in Ohio, so I know this for a fact, that he screwed over the schools when everything went down back with the financial crisis. He didn't have the way the Rainy Day Fund got rated, he almost didn't have a choice. What do you expect him to do? Honestly. Let's be real. Step back and think about that. But that's a whole different story for a different day. Now, when the primaries happened, he became a nominee. I'm thinking to myself, okay, I'm one of those people to where I never make a decision until I start watching the debates. I've always been like that. And I was no fan of Trump. Let's get that totally straight right now. No fan. Zero fan. Not because he was a loudmouth. But let's be real. We all knew he was an egotistical maniac. We all knew that, That goes without saying. I'm not going to argue with anybody on that. But I'm going to use a professional wrestling reference. I started to say this later on in the election cycle, that it was a work. I honestly think it was a work. Yes, he's a loudmouth. Yes, he spots off at the mouth. But he was doing that solely to get attention. Bottom line, And that says a lot, Because He gamed the system. He knew how to work the media. And the press he got, he took full advantage of that. He really, honestly did. And if anybody tells me anything else, you're fucking lying. You know? And I want to thank the one person right now watching this. I don't know who it is, but they're watching, you know? And going through the cycle, and this is where Team Blue's media outlet comes in. You try to slam, not an opinion per se, but you try to slam a narrative down people's throats. You honestly did, and I warned this long before the actual election cycle started. I started warning this actually right around the same time Hillary was handed the nomination 4 years ago. You did not promote party, platforms, or any ideas. It was all about narrative. Nothing more, nothing less. And I saw it in your media outlets. And I knew this was going to be bad fucking news for you guys. I honestly did, because it was unsustainable. And a lot because the moment you start shaming people into your position, you know, shaming them, blocking on Facebook, because I've had it, because I didn't agree with a regressive, 100% no questions asked, you know, talking down to them, treating them like they're fucking stupid. So I got news flash for you. Not all 100% of Republicans are like what you're saying. You're talking maybe 5%, and that goes for both sides. So let's get that in mind. You know, 5% of them probably are racist. I'm not going to lie. But that 5%, you can apply it to Team Blue also. That's fact. Don't believe me? Go to Appalachia. And that is a fact. You know, you have to go to Appalachia. I can go down the street from my apartment and get that. I can. You know. No, putting all people in the same category, and I'm going to get a lot of heat for this statement. If you're watching, and you decide to watch this later on, you know what that makes you? Honestly makes you? That makes you a bigot. It really does. Yeah, you want to call all Republicans racist? Okay, you may or may not have an argument. But lumping everybody the same way, it makes you a bigot. By definition. Your own definition. It does. It really, really does. I mean, I know it sounds real shitty, but that's what it is, you know? You know, and I knew, like I said, I knew that was going to be a problem. Excuse me, I take a bite here. Excuse me. That was going to be a problem leading up to it. Now, moving on. This got talked about a lot this weekend, and that's polling. Now, I was telling people during the primary season that Nate Silver was getting it wrong quite a bit. And it went totally over people's heads. It really did, you know? And it's like, I'm looking what the polls are saying versus what's actually going on out in the street. And that says a lot right there, because I can find out more what's going on down the street from my apartment than I can on any website, any TV station, any newspaper, maybe even a barbershop. Barbershop's a bad example. I'll take that back. That's one of the worst. But it's like, I saw what was going on. I didn't really see a shift, but I saw the disgust what was going on, especially from Team Blue, even though it's from both sides, but Team Blue especially. Now, moving on, we got later into the election cycle. And there's one thing I talked about now on one of the political pages that I'm on, which is Intelligent Political Disclosure. And Lynn, I apologize. I know it's your page, but I had to use you as a reference because it's accurate, and I actually said it. I said that human psychology, excuse me, I had to make sure I still have sound there, was going to play in this election more than normal. And not a psychology like you're swaying somebody to think your way, but reverse human psychology. It's just one of those ones to where, in the back of my mind, I saw it coming, I knew it was coming, but I just didn't want to believe it. Now, media-wise, I was one of the first people to admit that. You know, and people, you know, personally messaged me on my Facebook page or via email, thought I was fucking nuts. But damn, I was right. And a lot of people online actually talked about this particular subject, but not used the term, you know, reverse psychology. The best way to describe it is this. People didn't want to speak about their own opinion because, like I said, they'll get shamed, they'll get labeled. And let me tell you something. A lot of people that voted for Trump are nowhere close to being racist or bigoted or misogynic. I know I pronounced that wrong. I apologize. You know, they're nowhere close to that. Especially here in the Midwest. People are scared to death what they're going to lose. Those are fucking facts. And that's why I got home at 2 a.m. on Wednesday. I saw Wolf Blitzer on live TV on CNN saying that Hillary Clinton will win if she wins Metro Detroit. That's fucking grasping for straws at 2 a.m.? Then I saw her campaign head, I can't remember his name, I apologize, saying go to bed or think about it in the morning. When I saw those two things within 10 minutes of each other, I knew right there it was a wrap. A complete and total wrap. So, when people go out there and say the DNC, they had no one to blame but themselves, yes, they take a bulk of the blame, but there's enough blame to go around. And which means me another thing. People are starting to shame and blame Jill Stein and Gary Johnson. Now look. Excuse me. As I said at the beginning of this live YouTube video, not YouTube, I'm sorry, Facebook video, I said the following. I could not vote for Trump, and my issues were completely different issues that everybody was saying. My whole thing was, yes, he's a loudmouth. Yes, he's an egotistical maniac. Yes, he should have said things he shouldn't have said. But he had no experience. And I'm not saying be a career politician. I'm not saying that. If he would have shown up being on city council somewhere, okay, I got something to work from. But outside of that, you got nothing, man, with me. And Hillary Clinton, I couldn't vote for either. And let me explain why, and I know I'm going to take a lot of fucking heat for this. I said the following. If you go back and look what went on in the 90s, people try to dismiss that. And it's like what a lot of people said, that you need to vote for Clinton because Trump is worse. Think about what you just said. You're disregarding everything that happened in the communities of people of color because she has a D next to her name. Think about what you just said. And you know what that makes you? And I hate to fucking say this, and this video is probably gonna get axed. I already know it. You know, for the people of color who voted for Clinton because Trump was worse or preconceived notions, I mean, without... You know what you fucking are? Honestly. You know what you fucking are? And I'm talking about the black community specifically. That voted for Clinton, gonna disregard everything that her and her husband did and how fucking fake she was. You know what that makes you? Honestly. And I'm saying this in totally reverse what people said to me. That makes you a fucking coon. I'm using your own words against you. And yes, I know what the meaning that word is. But you know what? Using your own definition, that's what you are. In regards to that. And please forgive me for saying that, but that's what it fucking is. There's no easier way for me to say it. You know, and that sounds like a lot of brain damage. And you know, and I know that the shitstorm might start here real soon with me saying something like that. Once it starts gets posted around. But you know what? That's what it is. You know, what you did. And I'm talking about the black community. I can't speak for anybody else. You know, Then we have Mr. Johnson and Mrs. Stein. You know, for me, from that standpoint, it came down to a 50-50. I know Tom Hoffering was in there too, and I did give him a look. I really did. But for me, it came down to a 50-50. And I asked myself this one very important question. As I check my sound again, I apologize. Johnson had gubernatorial experience. Now, say what you want, and the people from New Mexico can tell me how he did, because I didn't live in that state. But he had experience. And yes, I know he said some crazy things. I know Weld said also. But Stein, I honestly really wanted to vote for. I really, really did. I just couldn't do it. And I have the greatest respect in the world for the Green Party. You know, to be honest with you, I voted for Cynthia McKinney way back when. I did not vote for Obama the first time. I voted for her. That wasn't a protest vote or anything like that. I sat down, looked at the situation, and said, you know what? It's time for a roll of the dice. A serious roll of the dice. And I was willing to go with that. And I got hammered dead on my podcast when I was doing it. And I'll take the hammering now for that 8 years ago. I'll be the first person to admit that. Now, you know, I know I'm getting a little bit off base here. But it's like, this is trying to pass blame to something you can be looking in the mirror for. And another thing, the people that did not vote. Now, this has been coming up a lot. Now, there was a big conversation I was in with people over multiple political sites I was on. Don't matter on it could have been on the plus sites, on Twitter, on some of the other sites I was on. This country, since World War II, let me rephrase that. Since Vietnam, has a legacy of people not voting. And the first thing I hear out of people's mouths is like, oh, we should be like Australia is like, because they make everybody vote or finally go to jail. It's like, that will never fucking work in this country. And let me explain why. This country was founded on the basis of you don't tell us what to do. That is unequivocal fact. Any U.S. history historian will tell you the exact same fucking thing when it came down to brass tacks. That's what this country was based on. You can put everything on the sides, but that's the core reason. That will never fly in this country. Never. And keep in mind with Australia as this example, they're a parliamentary monarchy. A completely different political setup. Now, if you want to parliament, I'm pretty sure you can put it up to a vote with the states. It get crushed. It might be a 95-5, and I'm being generous with that. I don't even think it'll get 5%. Maybe 2-3. I don't fucking know. It's just one of those ones to where think before you speak, folks. Forcing people to vote is not gonna make a dime of difference. Because that's the thinking of, if more people vote, a Democrat will win the presidency. The old saying is, all ships rise and fall with the tide. In this election, I'm not totally sure. I'm not at all. You're asking, and I'm not sure what the actual number of the eligible voters was, but people are saying 100 million. I'm figuring more like 75, 80. But that's just me. There was a lot of people that stayed home. Number one, they didn't think their vote made a difference. But that's a different topic for a different day. Two, they wanted nothing to do with this election. And that tells you something right there. I talked to a lot of people that were normal voters, and I don't care what side of the aisle you were on. They had the exact same sentiment. They really, really, really did. And that says a lot right there. They wanted nothing to do with it. They wanted to see where the cards lay. And another thing is, people didn't know what the hell to do. I mean, you could have voted in, you could have, you could have wrote in Hombre. I know like 15,000 did. There's a lot of people voting in Bernie Sanders. A lot of people felt in this election that, especially what happened to Sanders, is that their vote don't fucking matter anyway. And I blame that on everyone across the board, from the DNC, the media, yours truly, the people to try to force out a narrative. There's more than enough blame going around, because this process was totally and completely fucked up. Let's call it exactly what it is. And finally, I love this. This is getting shoved around this weekend, and that's the Electoral College. I'm taking final bites of my meal. The Electoral College, is there for a reason. A big reason. We're not a democracy, we're a republic. That's how we were founded. Now, with that being said, the Electoral College was put in place to protect small states. Now, you gotta understand something, Electoral College. Back when this country was founded, we still had slaves, right? And it was more the 3/5 rule. That was the main reason why it was put in place. But it was still needed way after that fact, because it was protection of large cities, overwhelming small states. And I use this as my example on my show this weekend, and I said it on a Facebook post. And some people agreed with me, some people didn't say anything. I got a few PMs on it, but it's one of those ones to where I gotta say this, and I gotta emphasize this. I'm sorry. This video is brought to you by Natural Ice. Not because it's cheap, because, hell, the neighbors gave it to me. So I'm gonna drink it. And yes, I know I'm a craft beer drinker, but when it's free, who gives a shit, It's one of those ones to where, when I say it's there for a reason, it's there for a fucking reason. And here's an example I used. I used Los Angeles County. Now, when I made the post Friday afternoon, Clinton was ahead of Trump by over 1 million votes in Los Angeles County. So I ask you this question. If me or you lived in Pierre, South Dakota, do you really want the city, the size, and the girth of Los Angeles, a super blue city like San Francisco, the tri-state area of New York City? Hell, I can use Chicago, Miami to an extent, Do you want these major metropolitan areas to decide who's president? Totally take it out of the hands of people in small states? CPG Gray talked about this in a video he did a few years ago. He was right and he was wrong. And I'm taking the wrong side on this, because looking at maps, it confirms what I said. And that's the hidden thing that nobody talks about.